It is no secret at this point that Destiny 2 has been marred by controversies and issues that stemmed from Bungie and Activision's own greed and negligence. The Eververse in particular has been a source of heavy contention among the Destiny 2 community, who are sick and tired of how microtransactions are being prioritized over proper gameplay fixes, updates, and additions. But beyond that, few will deny that Destiny 2 has overall been an underwhelming sequel on numerous fronts, often feeling like an expansion to Destiny 1 rather than a true next iteration, and even taking a step backwards in many regards. Well, as it turns out, there might be a good reason for that. The following information comes from Kotaku editor Jason Schreier, who recently appeared on the DTR podcast for an interview. For those who don't know, Jason is well known for his investigative pieces where he uncovers some of the behind-the-scenes going-ons that shed a light on where a game's development might have gone awry. You may recall that he did an investigative piece on Mass Effect Andromeda's troubled development that garnered a lot of attention, and more recently his investigation extrapolated on the series of events that led to EA shutting down Visceral Games. Suffice to say that the guy knows his stuff and has a higher level of insight into the gaming industry than most. So during his recent interview, when talking about the many issues that Destiny 2 currently faces, he provided some interesting information about one aspect that could have led to all that. He said, quote, "I think that Destiny 2, was made in a relatively short period of time. There was a big reboot of Destiny 2 at some point of early 2016. There had been a previous director who was directing the game before Luke Smith, who's the current director, took over. So that guy was kind of put aside and Luke Smith took over. I believe that was in April of 2016, but I might be misremembering. Don't hold me to that exact line. So if you think about it that way, then they didn't really have a ton of time. It had been a 16 months period between the reboot and when the game finally shipped. Gee, why does this story sound so familiar? Oh, that's right, Mass Effect Andromeda underwent a similar process. In Jason's own investigative article on the matter, he detailed how in-office politics, technical issues, poor decision-making, and bad management led to only the last 18 months of Mass Effect Andromeda's 5-year development cycle being utilized to make the game. The result was a game that was marred with both technical and artistic issues, along with facial animations that went viral for all the wrong reasons, and ultimately killed the game's chances of success. It really didn't take a genius to see that Andromeda was clearly a rushed product. Well, looks like Destiny 2 underwent a similar process, except they only had 16 months between the time the game's development went through a reboot and the time the game finally launched. It is no wonder that Destiny 2 feels like such a half step forward from Destiny 1, why it's lacking that true sequel feel, and why it's been so fundamentally empty. Turns out that much like Andromeda, Destiny 2 was also a rushed byproduct of poor decision-making and management. This is all the more frustrating when you consider that Destiny 1 underwent a similar reboot, resulting in a lack of substantial story content, information that Jason himself blew wide open in his investigative article on the matter published back in 2015. It looks like since then, Bungie has learned absolutely nothing, repeating the same mistake as last time. Jason also briefly talked about the Eververse and the reason for its existence in his recent interview, stating, quote, "What Bungie decided was we can't do this anymore. This is too hard for us to do," referring to releasing a DLC every few months. "The tools that we're working with are really hard to deal with. It's hard for us to make this much content. It's just hard to make content in general. And they said we're going to do a smaller or drip feed of smaller stuff, and we're going to put up the Eververse and make money that way. And Activision said okay. It was a part of their renegotiated deal, and they got to a point where they didn't have to be cranking up so much content." So, Bungie's excuse for prioritizing the Eververse over expansions and whatnot was basically, it's too hard to make substantial and fun game content, so we're going to take the easy road by focusing on microtransaction schemes. I'm sorry, but why did they even create a game franchise that would span and evolve across a decade if they don't have the capabilities to keep up with their own ambition? Why do they even set out to make Destiny if it's a vision that's too hard to realize? Why try if their hearts aren't in it? More importantly, why make empty promises to the player base when they themselves know that they can't deliver? And how could they possibly conceive that the ideal solution was to focus on a system that paywalls certain gameplay content and items behind glorified slot machines and gambling? Did they actually think that consumers would be content with a game in which you're rewarded less for playing and rewarded more for paying? Keep in mind that it's not just that microtransactions and loot boxes exist in the game that's pissing people off, it's how insidiously they've been implemented. It's about how they secretly throttled experience points to slow down the rate of earning free engrams, or how they took advantage of a limited holiday event to further feed the Eververse. It's about how, according to recent calculations, it would take tens of thousands of dollars worth of expenditures or years worth of painstaking grind to obtain all of the items that the game has to offer. And since items in this game have a seasonal expiration date, you have a limited time to earn them before they're gone forever. It is about how the game is slowly inching away from a gameplay-based reward system and towards a loot box-based progression system. Bungie isn't just trying to make enough money to stay afloat, they are using blatant manipulation and predatory schemes to squeeze out all the money in the world. To them, it's all about striving towards paving a road towards uncapped monetization, because earning honest money by making a good game is apparently too damn hard for them. God knows how the hell they can even call themselves game developers with that kind of mentality. I mean, how pathetic is it that their justification for shady tactics is that it's easier to make money that way? That's the excuse that thieves use to justify why they steal. I don't know what else to say except that I can't believe that this is the same studio that created Halo, back when they were a team that would have never used the "it's too hard" excuse to compromise on quality or to fall prey to greedy temptations. How the mighty have fallen from grace. Anyway, with that, I would like to end this news update and discussion video. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this video informative and insightful, and if you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon to help this channel stay independent and self-sustained. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!